Hi everybody, my name is Brianna and I'm 21 years old and I'm a student at the University of Oklahoma and I'm starting my first series of videos on feminism and the first block of that series will be on Black feminist thought. First off, I'm mixed. I'm half black, I'm half white. I grew up in California in the Bay Area. All of my cousins are mixed and um, we're just a really diverse family. We grew up in California, but we have family that's from Arkansas and family that's from Little Rock, and um, my niece is half Burmese, and I grew up looking at women walking down the street in burqas and hijabs, and I grew up with refugees from Africa and refugees from um, Bosnia, and I was best friends with people of many different cultures all throughout my life. And I've seen the way that women are treated in those different cultures, and I've studied and learned a lot about it. It's really interesting that I'm doing a video on feminism because a lot of people probably wouldn't picture me when they pictured a feminist, which is exactly what I want. I want to break down those walls. I want to break down those stereotypes, and I want people to understand that a feminist is not what you think she is. I'm a feminist. I'm a mixed woman of race. I'm biracial. I'm young. I'm 21. I'm married. And I'm heterosexual. And so I'm neither a spinster nor an old lady nor a lesbian nor a butch type person. I am very girly and I enjoy being a wife, and one day I want to be a mother. And I chose to do a series of videos to show people that I'm not a stereotype, and also because I need for parts of my life to be smoother. And in order for those parts of my life to be smoother, people really need to understand why I'm a feminist and what it really means to be a feminist, because there's so much ignorance associated with feminism. Um, my husband asked me if he thought that we could have a happy marriage with me being a feminist, and my answer to him is always yes. We do struggle with my viewpoints because he doesn't share them. And I suppose in large part the reason why I'm making this video is because I do want for him to understand who I am and where I'm coming from, but a constant stream of thought such as a video does not take place within a conversation when there's constant stop and go and constant interruption. So I just wanted to be able to get my words out. and it's the truth that I wanted to get my words out when I'm in a class or when I'm having a conversation with, someone who's either like-minded or not like-minded. There's just no better place such as this than to really be able to speak a full, complete thought. um, My husband grew up in New Orleans, so he's got very traditional and southern ideas of what a woman is. We're both Christians, and there's so much talk about the submissive wife. But what does that really mean? Has anyone ever studied that? Because any person of theology or seminary would tell you that no biblical text, no religious text has ever surfaced. It's never just like straightforward in that way, especially not something in which it's telling you how to behave. There are some things that you just take them at face value. This is true, to pray and to ask God for forgiveness and to seek His guidance and trust in Him for all things. But there are some places, such as the submissive wife, where there's so much um, analogy being used that it's very, very important for it to be broken down. And if you don't take the time to do that, you're ignorant to what it really means. Because a lot of the Bible is written like a song, or it's written like poetry, or it's written like philosophy. It's beautiful. The words are beautiful, and they have so much meaning, and the interpretation is very important because it determines how you're going to live your life. So don't be naive to think that because you are a Christian and you read the Bible that you know anything about the way that God wants for you to live your life. You must take time to sit and really glean from that. And I admit that I don't sit and glean from that enough. I do sit and glean from the parts that directly influence me all the time, such as the part of the submissive wife, because I want to know what standard I'm being held to. And I do know what standard I'm being held to. And of course, I have things that I need to strengthen. But there are also things that I know that my heart is there. You know what I mean? And it's so often misconstrued that because I'm a feminist, I'm anti-man, and I'm not anti-man. I think that oppression happens to everyone, but women are faced with a double jeopardy, especially if you're a woman of color. Because if you're a woman of color, you're faced with the sexual oppression based on gender, and you're faced with the racial oppression based on skin color. And that's not fair. And not to mention if you're socially and economically disadvantaged. I mean, I didn't grow up with the advantages that a lot of people have. And more likely than not, when you're a woman and you're female, when you're a woman, you're female and you're a color, you are going to come from a very, very disadvantaged background. That's statistic, that's just real life, that's how it is. And so this video is for all of those women who are fighting to understand why their lives are the way that they are. And this video is for all of the young women out there who know that they want to have a happy marriage or any type of happy relationship, but because of their beliefs in equality for themselves based on their gender, it's hard for them because men are very threatened by that idea. And that's part of why I'm a feminist. Part of the reason why I'm a feminist is because I want to have a happier marriage, because when your belief system is constantly being kicked down as wrong, that creates for a lot of strife. And I love my husband enough to say, like, look, I want to educate you on what I believe in, because that's what you do when you love someone. You compromise with them and you try and talk to them, but there's also situations where maybe those things don't want to be heard. And so what you have to do is you have to get creative. And so I chose to do a series of videos to sneak in to my husband's subconscious. He really enjoys videos on theory, whether it's theories on health things, or theories on government, or theories on society. He very much enjoys videos, and so I thought, well, I'll make a video on feminist thoughts and sneak in there a little bit. So this first video is dedicated to my husband, John D. For my first series, I am choosing to review and read Patricia Hill Collins' Black Feminist Thought. And I chose Hill Collins because I read her some excerpts from her book when I took an African American Studies class called African American Women. And it was a discussion class wherein we went through the different waves of feminism, and we read a lot of Black feminist theory. And Black feminist theory changed my life, because prior to that, I was very much interested in gender studies, and I had read a little bit, but I didn't have the real deeply rooted feminist thought knowledge that I have now. And I'm still learning so much. There's so much to learn, and it's fabulous to be able to do that. To have that privilege to be able to do that is really a blessing. So, I really would like to give an experience that changed my life. I was 19 years old, and I had a professor who was somewhat of a mentor, and he was always somewhat flirty and slightly inappropriate, but I just kind of passed it off because it was nothing that was too outlandish. Well, eventually I grew uncomfortable with it, and at the time I was, enrolled in his class, and I had been accepted to Georgetown University for the summer to do an internship and to take a class there, and it was a really big deal. I mean, a lot of people were very excited for me, and I was a very public figure in my college because of my involvement with student activities and because of my relationships with so much of the faculty and so much of the student body. I was very much kind of a social butterfly, and I was very popular, and I had a lot of clout. And when he began to treat me unfairly, I approached him about it, and he grew very angry, and he threatened me. He threatened to call the university and to call the program and tell them that I wasn't fit to be a part of their program, and he was going to try and take away my internship. And at that point, I was distraught because I didn't realize that could happen. I kind of was living in this nice little bubble where I had so many people behind me and I had so much support that I never thought that that would occur. I didn't think that he would turn on me in that way. And I never reported. I talked to the dean and I withdrew from the class, but I never formally reported it. And I don't regret it because I just didn't want that type of attention put on me, and I wasn't ready for it. Years later, and older and wiser and living in a totally different state and having been through much more of my education and having read much more, I see now that um, that was probably that moment, like the moment where everything changed for me. That was the moment where, for the first time in my life, I recognized, maybe not for the first time in my life I was being treated with such, but for the first time in my life I recognized the power dynamic between a female and a man, and how when in positions of power and authority, and even in positions not of power and authority, a woman can be pushed down and oppressed. I didn't realize um, when I was going through it and when I met my husband who was from the South that we would have kind of a dynamic that was like a we believe in the same things, like we're both Christian, but we also don't have the same belief system because we're just from such different social backgrounds. I mean, anytime you've seen a woman walk down the street in a burqa, in a full burqa with just her eyes showing, your viewpoint of women in the world is going to be a lot different from a man who's never seen that. And anytime you come from a liberal background where you are taught um, that women are, that women are strong and powerful and that, they're equal to a man, comparing that to a very much like a Bible belt and a Southern ideal of the way that women should be treated, and an inner city idea. I think coming from a community like New Orleans that is very oppressive to women, with so much prostitution and so much rape and so much pornography and so many strip clubs and so much sexual violence, and coming from a state that is one of the worst, if not the worst, depending on the year, in hierarchy for women to live in terms of women's progress and women's comforts. I mean, states that have the most imprisonment, the most rape, the most domestic violence, the most teen moms, things like that. You just you've got, like, those are conflicting views, and you can't help how you grow up, and so it's affected my marriage in a way that I'm not comfortable with. And so these videos are an education for women and to de-stereotype the feminist, because let's be clear that the feminist is not anti-man, the feminist is pro-equality for women, and those two are very different. And let's also be clear that I am neither white nor lesbian nor butch nor anti anything. I'm not like a raging banshee who doesn't shave under her arms and who doesn't ever want to have kids and who can never ever never wants to be with a man and who thinks she doesn't need a man. None of those things are true, and the only people who think that are ignorant to feminism because you haven't done your research and you haven't read anything. So that's clear. I'm none of those things. I want to be a mother. I want to have a happy marriage. I'm very into fashion. I love clothes. I love beauty. I love all of those things. But I'm also about empowering women because we need it, because we're oppressed. And that's just the truth. Women don't make as much money as men do. Rape is a major issue in terms of prosecution because, rape and abuse towards women don't get nearly as harsh a sentencing as they deserve. There are so many things about our place in society that have problems. And you talk to a man from one part of the world and you talk to a man from another part of the world, or one man from America, from this part of America, and this man from another part of America, socially, geography is very, very influential to the way that we see each other. And like I said, I've witnessed a woman walking down the street in full burqa. I've met women who survived the Bosnian War. I've met women who are um, victims from Burma who came here, in the 90s. I have experience with this, and I've read a lot, and I've seen a lot, and I've done a lot, and I've had a lot done to me. And that, compared with this male idea of feminism, it's ignorant, and that's the truth. Anybody who believes the things that I just described to you aren't an issue, or anyone who tries to tell me um, that where we come from doesn't influence the way we think about each other, is wrong. So I say all that to say that my name is Brianna, and I'm a feminist, and I'm a young feminist. I'm a woman of color, and I'm a married woman, and I'm excited to be able to bring you a great video on Black feminist thought, and hopefully more videos to come on feminism as a movement and as an ideology, because it's what I believe in. I believe in feminism just as strongly as I believe in God. I'm a Christian and I'm a feminist. So I will see you next time.